Hey guys, Brendan Wood here, author of the 3+1 Plan and chairman of YPC Group, where we help you to build a thriving property portfolio so you can live the lifestyle you've always dreamed of, but in such a way that you're not creating a second job or actually working yourself into an early grave. So what I wanted to do today was we've been running the webinars now for a while, and we've compiled hundreds of questions that you guys have been asking. So I want to take those, and what I've done is I've broken them down into a number of really key questions that most of you guys are repeatedly asking. And what I've done is I want to present them to you so you get that level of education. I've always been a massive supporter of free education. And so that's what I want to do for you guys today, is really give you, I guess, what most people out there are concerned about in the market now, about property investment, about strategies, about structures, about all sorts of things, the questions that you guys have been asking. So, it's not now me telling you what you should be thinking, it's you guys actually feeding back. And I love that about the social media, and I love that about webinars. So yeah, sit back, relax, and let's get started. Okay guys, another great question, and it's actually not a question that we're getting very often now, and it's actually almost fallen out of the news a bit. It pops up every now and again. But the question really is about, are we not ready for another collapse? In other words, the property market hasn't dropped enough, the economy hasn't returned to normal, things aren't getting back to where they should be. Are we going to head into another collapse? And they mentioned sort of interest rates are going to rise, we'll get a double dip and we'll get into another recession. Look, the thing that I keep coming back to is that if you look at this recession, this whole period between 2007 through to 2011 where we are now, all the results that have been coming out have been better than expected. So unemployment didn't go, as high as 3 million. It stayed under, at 2.6, and it really hasn't done much for the last couple of years. Interest rates were dropped to 0.5. Now, I think that is one of the biggest and best things they did. By doing that, what it meant was that people like you and I, our mortgages dropped significantly, which actually created more cash flow, which we can either put into provision to put aside for a rainy day or pay off our mortgage. But what we did is we felt better about our situation. If interest rates had stayed high, I think it would have been a totally different thing. So, just looking at this, and there's a whole heap of other data that I can chuck at you, but to be fair, none of that is really important, okay? And you'll see me keep coming back to this one point. All right, and actually, just before I get back to the point is there is lots of risks. So yes, we could do this. We could have another collapse. Property prices haven't dropped 30%, and the affordability and all these sort of things, haven't gone to where some economists would like them, okay, for a full reset of the economy. But the interesting thing is that actually, whilst there is a lot of these risks, Europe could fall to bits, America could go back into recession. There's a whole range of things that are risks, are downside risks. But at the same time, what's been happening in the economy is it's just been chugging along. Now, it hasn't been chugging along like this, it's been chugging along like this. But things are returning to normal, slowly but surely. The point that I wanted to make was this, and you'll hear me say this all the time: forget all this big picture stuff, because you need to bring it down to what's in your portfolio and what's actually going to apply to you, all right? And so what I'd say is, with your own portfolio, have you got it cash flowed? And what I talk about is mortgage cost averaging. In other words, if you're in the UK, 6%, if you're in Australia, 8%, and actually calculate all your mortgages, okay, at that rate. Now, if you do that, all right, then when interest rates rise, and what you need then, if you do this, is having a provision or a buffer, all right, an amount of money set aside. So while the cash flow is good, put some money aside. And if you do that, then actually when all this happens, it doesn't matter. If this was to collapse, you're still going to be able to see your way through, all right? And the point is don't overcommit. So what I've been saying to a lot of our larger investors is, right now, in the middle of 2011, is just stop buying for now. But if you're just starting out, now's the time to be jumping in. You're at the bottom of the market. Now you can afford to get a couple of properties under your belt, get rid of all those emotional barriers and attachments and things like that, and really become what I call a numbers investor. Someone who is an investor, not a landlord, all right? When we all start out, we're all worried about, is the place going to let? Will the tenants destroy the place? Am I going to get a mortgage? Once you've got a couple of properties under your belt, a lot of that just goes by the wayside. And then you start looking at the numbers, you start looking at the return on investment you're going to get. Now, what I want to talk about here is the anticipation or expectation. Over the last couple of weeks, I've actually been doing flying around quite a bit and speaking to different people, from sales directors, managing directors, chairmen, hedge funds, all sorts of fund managers, and actually going around to all the network I know and asking them how things are going. even down to a mate of mine that owns a recruitment company. He's as busy as he's ever been in 20 years, okay? He hasn't got enough applicants to fill the jobs. Now, all these guys and everyone I'm speaking to is talking about the fact that we are getting back on the horse and actually we're getting back to normality. The banks have got money to lend. Sure, the FSA is still a bit restrictive in the whole thing, but all the pointers are heading in the direction of recovery. And what most people seem to be saying is it's going to be middle of 2012 where we'll start talking about the normal economy and start putting the recession behind us. And that's important, okay? Now, are we going to drop? Well, there's risks. But personally, from what I've seen and from what I know and from my experience, 15 years now, okay, is that no, I think these guys are right. The middle of next year is when we'll be back into normality. That means that now is your opportunity, because as normality hits, that's when the herd jumps back in. And that's when everyone wants something. And the problem now that we face, we haven't been building any new houses. So that's created a shortfall. And nowhere is that more prevalent than in London, okay? And obviously the city centres. The shortfalls are starting to be shown. And because of that, when that demand comes back in, demand will increase. Supply actually has a very long lag period, all right? So what has to happen is demand will come back, the banks will start lending to developers, and then all of a sudden over about 2 years, 3 years, the supply will get the uptake. And that there is a massive opportunity. And that's where you as an investor, you can absolutely clean up. And you will clean up if you take action now and do something now. So guys, I'm sure you found that information really valuable. The first step really now is that you need to get a plan. You need to actually, work out exactly how you're going to put this in place. So what I encourage you to do is come in and sit down with us, talk to us, grab a coffee with us. And what we can do is we can actually start mapping out what your plan is. But more importantly, not just give you a written bit of paper that says go and buy property or do this, but we can talk about structure, strategy, processes, procedures. We can talk about all the things that you need to put into that plan. We can talk about why you want to achieve this, what you're actually looking to do about this. We can talk about where you're starting from, what sort of limitations, what sort of emotional barriers you're going to face. But then more importantly, we can talk about how you're going to get there. Yeah? And with those three elements, you've got yourself a really powerful plan. Then the next thing is the motivation and the action. Nothing happens without action. And this is where the team, we can help you do this. And in fact, we can do it for you if that's what you want. So guys, I encourage you to come in, meet with us, grab a coffee or tea if you drink it, and really just sit down and get that out. One of the things you're going to find about the way we approach this is that most companies in this industry, what they'll do is they will just try and sell you into a property. The first phone call you make to them, guaranteed you're going to get sold a property. Okay? You're going to find we don't do that. What we want to make sure is you get that plan in place, you get all the emotional things sorted out, and you're aware of those. And you really get a feel for who you're going to be working with. Okay? Relationship is what it's all about. It's not just flog lots of property, because I can tell you it takes about 3 months to buy a property, but you're going to own that property for 5, 10 years maybe. So it's really important that you put a structure and strategy in place, a plan, and follow that plan. Because otherwise, what's going to happen is you can grow your portfolio very quickly, but then if you're not aware of market cycles and all these sort of things, interest rates rising, inflations and all those, what's going to happen is you're going to be put at risk down the track. It may look good now, but the market changes, and then all of a sudden, all of your weaknesses in the portfolio you've built are going to be displayed. So getting a plan is going to enable you to actually just get rid of that totally. Guys, I'm looking forward to meeting you real soon at either one of our webinars or perhaps a seminar, or if you come to one of our offices around the world. Have a great day, and remember, live with passion.